Invite viewers to post their location and local time. He leans on the back of the bench with his medical bag at his feet, scanning the path in the fading orange light, and wonders out loud how a man can get in trouble for helping a neighbor check his blood pressure. The air smells like freshly watered grass. Somewhere a sprinkler ticks. And here he is, tightening the cuff on Walter Hayes' arm. Walter, 80 years old, steady as an old porch beam, but lately running a little high on the systolic side. That's when the flashlights come. Not the friendly kind you see at campouts, but sharp LED beams slicing the dusk like interrogation lights in an old detective flick. Paula Hargrove, mid-50s, HOA board member with the kind of smirk you could bottle and sell as condescension number 5, is at the front, flanked by 2 volunteers in reflective vests marked HOA Patrol. Historians still argue whether such vests actually grant superpowers, but here they seem to at least grant excessive confidence. She stops 10 feet away, points her flashlight straight at his eyes, and declares in that clipped "I'm in charge" register, "You're violating new community regulations. No outdoor activity after 7 p.m. He blinks against the glare shielding his face. What regulations? He hasn't seen a notice, much less an explanation. Paula whips out a violation notice like it's a winning lottery ticket, and here's the kicker: his name, Grant Reeves, is already printed in the violator field. That's not a coincidence. That's a setup wearing tap shoes. Walter shifts uneasily. The machine starts beeping, 168/96, and the moment feels like one wrong word could tip it over. The EMT in him stays calm, tells Walter to breathe deep, but the citizen in him is already smelling something foul. He points to the pre-printed name, asks why, and gets the sort of vague dodge that's more confession than denial. A retired firefighter wanders past Slows to watch the absurd tableau, an EMT doing a routine check on an elderly man while an HOA patrol stages a midnight movie raid. Paula talks louder, sensing an audience. He asks to see meeting minutes, approval dates, basic governance stuff. She tells him to direct all questions to the HOA office during business hours, as if curfews and blood pressure readings keep bankers' hours. That night, the HOA message board lights up "Emergency meeting, disciplinary action against a disruptive EMT who films residents. He requests the minutes for the vote that supposedly birthed this curfew." Within an hour, Paula denies access. No reason, no workaround, just slammed doors. But Mrs. Miller, ex-librarian with a filing system sharper than a raptor's talons, smells the same rat. She digs. The signature approving the curfew, Arthur Bennett's, except Arthur was in Florida that week meeting his newborn grandkid. Airline records prove it. Digital signature logs don't match, and the email didn't come from Arthur's domain. The math is simple: forged approval plus sudden curfew equals targeted enforcement. And judging by Paula's paper trail so far, he's only seeing the top of the iceberg. The next morning, the so-called safety upgrades sprout up like invasive weeds, orange mesh barriers zigzagging across the walking paths, forcing residents to veer into the street or turn back entirely. They're not city-installed, not even by the usual HOA maintenance crew. This is Paula's personal patrol work, safety in name, hazard in function. Mrs. Patterson's walker wheels snag in the mesh. He kneels, untangles them, and notices the harsh blue LED lights bolted at eye level along the path. Industrial-grade glare, better suited for a shipyard than a neighborhood. Walter says he can't look toward the path without getting a headache. Mrs. Miller's migraines are back, and evening walks, a decades-old tradition, are disappearing overnight. That's when he stops playing defense. As a certified EMT and community emergency response volunteer, he still has the city-approved neighborhood emergency plan filed after the flood season 3 years ago, and under incident command protocol, city safety orders trump HOA restrictions. When there's a hazard, something Paula apparently missed in her rule hoarding. He calls Captain Dinah Mercer at the fire department, explains the rogue barriers and blinding lights, requests a community safety drill. 2 hours later, permit FDA 71202 is in his inbox, greenlighting AED training, first aid demos, and evacuation walkthroughs. Setting up the drill, he takes a side trip into the HOA's vendor contracts. Historians still argue whether curiosity or caffeine drives the best investigations. But here, it's a mix of both. Lighting and security invoices have billing addresses matching a nearby home, Paula's brother-in-law's construction company. No competitive bids, no detailed breakdowns, prices double the going rate. Suddenly the picture sharpens. Install bad lights to trigger complaints. Use complaints to justify a curfew. Forge a signature to approve it. Then award enforcement contracts to family. Arthur posts on the HOA board backing the drill, which rattles Paula enough to send out her own blast calling the drill unauthorized, threatening fines for participants. She even private messages Walter to scare him off. That's the line for him threatening an 80-year-old who just wants to learn how to save a life. He locks his evidence in cloud storage cameras ready for the 6:30 p.m. start. The scene builds like a stage play, Walter practicing with the AED, Mrs. Anderson going live on the resident feed, curious neighbors drifting in. And then here she comes Paula with her patrol flashlights up like they're raiding a speakeasy. She lunges at the camera, grabs the cuff from Walter's arm, knocks his readings askew. One patrol member snatches his backup radio. Another tries to block his body cam. It's physical, chaotic, and absurdly well documented from 3 angles, plus Mrs. Miller's meticulous notes. What Paula doesn't realize: the drill's safety report will include every hazard on those paths, every barrier, every blinding light, each one traceable to her contracts. And with Captain Mercer on the other end of his comms, tonight's about to shift from HOA theater to city jurisdiction. By 8:15, Paula springs her trap. She strides into the crowd, declares the drill illegal, and gives the signal her brother-in-law kills the power to the community area. Darkness swallows the space. For a heartbeat, she thinks she's won her voice carrying that smug "this is what happens" sermon to anyone within earshot. But the EMT doesn't flinch. Scenario 2 power loss, T-20. He calls for the camera, flipping on his headlamp. Backup floodlights kick in at 3 seconds, washing the area in steady white. The AED beeps to life on battery backup. In one motion, he pulls out the folder, every forged signature, every padded invoice, every photo of dangerous work and radios Captain Mercer. Her SUV rolls up with municipal authority written all over it. She steps out, scans the scene, and says the drill will continue under city protocols. All interference stops now. No room for debate. He makes sure everyone hears as he tells her he's reporting financial fraud and physical assault, then hands over the evidence folder while the live feed stays locked on. Paula's face loses 2 shades of color. Walter's stress spikes real medical situation now, so Captain Mercer clears a perimeter. Arthur flips open the bylaws book, points out Section 4.3 on activity restrictions calls for a resident show of hands to suspend Paula's measures. Arms go up, live viewers jump from 300 to 800. An officer arrives for backup, and that's when Paula makes her worst move yet, charging toward him, shouting about harassment and unauthorized activities, ignoring the fact that half the neighborhood just watched her assault an EMT. The officer listens for about 10 seconds before telling her to step back. Multiple witnesses, video evidence, city permits, it's over. She's cuffed for interference with emergency operations, assault on medical personnel, and disorderly conduct. Her patrol follows wrists bound. The DA will be looking at fraud and forgery next. In the weeks after dominoes fall, state audit contracts voided Paula Band from leadership. $40,000 in misused funds returned to the emergency account spent on real safety, proper lighting, fixed sidewalks, equipment that works. Walter grips his hand one afternoon and says, "You didn't just help me, you helped all of us." That pre-printed violation. It wasn't intimidation anymore. It was the opening move in a fight they never expected him to win. The wind down comes slow. The neighborhood's walking path glows with warm amber lights, now not the cold glare of intimidation. Walter never misses the weekly sunset health walks, and Mrs. Miller teaches CPR under the trees. The retired firefighter leads evacuation drills with a grin. Even the air feels lighter, as if months of tension have finally lifted. People greet each other again without looking over their shoulders. The HOA meetings, once tense as courtroom trials, now run like civil conversations where ideas matter more than who's holding the gavel. Sometimes on the bench where the whole mess began, he sits with Walter and watches the last sunlight fade. No curfew signs in sight. The sounds are softer now, footsteps, laughter, the faint rustle of leaves in the evening breeze. And he thinks about how justice isn't always loud. Sometimes it's the quiet after, when a community remembers it belongs to everyone, not just the loudest voice in the room.